Welcome back. My name is Rick Bowden, and I am president of the Pinckney Putnam Hamburg Hell Chamber of Commerce. And we're doing a candidate forum that we're having at the Jane Tesh Theater. And this is prior to the election on November 3rd. We're holding this on October 12th. November 3rd will be the election. We've been doing different segments, and these are all the different segments of all the different candidates that will be in contested races in the on the ballot in Hamburg and Putnam Township areas. The next position we're going to be doing is prosecuting attorney. There are two candidates. The first candidate, David Reeder, he defeated the incumbent in the primary, so David Reeder will be the Republican on the ballot. David is not with us this evening. And the next candidate is Reagan Lake, and she is the Democratic candidate for prosecuting attorney. So, Reagan, if you could take about 4 or 5 minutes, and talk about your position and what you think, and then if I've got questions from the audience, well, you'll be the only one answering them because you're the only one here.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Hello, my name is Reagan Lake, and I'm here to make my case to you for the office of Livingston County Prosecutor, because just as criminal jury trials are not run through yard signs, neither should an election for county prosecutor. I'm running for this office because change is needed. In recent years, the prosecutor's office has been besieged by controversies, such as the conviction being overturned in the Jerome Kowalski murder trial and a lawsuit being filed against the prosecutor's office by a former probation officer. A fresh start is needed, and as the only candidate without ties to Livingston County's court system and its good old boys network, I'm the only one who can truly bring it about. Public safety is not a partisan issue. The focus should not be on the candidate's political party, but on their experience. And I'm a prosecutor, not a politician. I am the only candidate with criminal prosecution experience. I have prosecuted just about every type of case under criminal law, ranging from civil infractions on traffic matters all the way up to capital cases where the maximum imprisonment is life. I became a prosecutor because I wanted to fight for victims who could not fight for themselves. I am currently an assistant prosecuting attorney with the Wayne County Prosecutor's Office. I am a member of the Child Abuse Unit, where I investigate and prosecute felony cases involving child victims and witnesses. I handle cases involving child abuse, child sexual assault, and homicide. I'm currently handling over 40 cases, with about a quarter of those cases being capital cases for the maximum imprisonment in this life. As county prosecutor, some of my initiatives will be working with Livingston County specialty courts, such as drug court, to get individuals the help they need to keep them from reoffending, promoting transparency by producing annual reports of warrants processed and cases adjudicated, and having regular forums for citizens to provide their input in the state of public safety in Livingston County, encouraging law enforcement agencies to use scout car video and body cameras, establishing a conviction integrity unit to ensure that individuals are not wrongfully convicted for crimes they did not commit, adopting policies to address implicit bias and systemic racism in law enforcement, and aggressively prosecuting hate crimes, requiring annual ethics training for all assistant prosecutors and developing procedures to address potential conflicts of interest, making charging decisions based on the evidence and not on public opinion or personal political interests, and also giving first-time nonviolent offenders a second chance by offering them diversion programs that will allow them to keep their criminal record clean following a period of probation. Thank you.
Thanks. I've got a couple questions here. First of all, the prosecutor, there's been a lot of controversy with judges in Livingston County recently, and what is your feel on what happened with Judge Brennan and how the prosecutor was involved, and what should have happened more with the Brennan case?
Well, I don't know Judge Brennan. I know that David Reeder, my opponent, endorsed her, as well as Mr. Valancourt. If the issue is, we have to figure out what happened so it doesn't happen again. If I'm elected prosecutor, I will ask another agency to review the prosecutor's office, find out whether any prosecutors violated any potential conflicts of interest, and then act accordingly based on that. And then, as I just indicated, I would initiate policies to address potential conflicts of interest so such things do not happen again in the future.
The next question is, how would you decide which cases to charge people with? So how do you sort them all out?
So the process is the prosecutor's office receives a warrant request from a local law enforcement agency asking for specific charges. We then will take that initial warrant request and we will look at it and say, okay, I have enough evidence now to charge, and generally we look at it from a view of, do we have enough evidence to charge beyond, can we win this case to the standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt? If we don't think there's enough evidence, what we'll then do is send it back to the law enforcement agency for further investigation. If we don't think there's enough evidence, and we don't think there will ever be enough evidence, we will deny the warrant, meaning we won't charge the case. Sometimes also, you may have, think a crime has been committed, but you just will never be able to get the evidence, and you have to deny that warrant. So that's how prosecutors decide what cases they charge.
Okay. The next question is, regardless of who's elected, there's going to be somebody new as a prosecuting attorney. So what do you think is what should happen, and should the house be cleaned or retain the existing employees, or what changes should be made within the department?
As I indicated in my first answer, I think that a review has to be done regarding what happened with Judge Brennan to see, should someone be held accountable, should someone have spoken up when they didn't, and to try to find out what exactly happened there. And then going from there, we'll determine whether any personnel changes have to be made. My personal belief, though, is that people should not lose their jobs just because their overall boss loses their jobs. My instinction, what I'd like to have happen is nobody loses their job. I'd like to keep the current people in the prosecutor's office, assuming they're all doing good jobs, and I don't have no reason at this point to think otherwise. But if personnel changes are needed, we will make those personnel changes.
Okay. Your opponent was a sitting judge, and so what do you feel as to his position is, because he'll be working with the judges now in the different capacities, so how do you think there's going to be any conflict there?
I think that's a great concern. Obviously, working as a prosecutor, you get to know judges, and you have lots of prosecutors who go on to become judges, and they're your friends. But it's certainly a concern where you have somebody who was a judge who's so closely tied with the Good Old Boys Network. Again, that's why that change is needed. I think that the prosecutor's office is too closely tied to the courts. If you elect a former judge to that role, you're just going to have it even more enmeshed. And I think you're going to have future conflicts of interest. You could have future lawsuits. And I think that just a fresh start is needed. And that's why someone who comes from outside that position but has the requisite experience is needed in this role.
Okay. Any other changes that you think should be happen in the prosecutor's office in Livingston County?
I think greater transparency is needed. I think that the public has lost faith in the prosecutor's office, and I think the only way to restore that faith is to let people know exactly what we're doing, because the prosecutor works for you. We're prosecuting cases on your behalf. You have a right to know how many cases we're reviewing, how many cases we're charging, how many trials we're winning, how many we're losing, how many we're pleading out. So as prosecutor, my goal is to make sure you have all that information. Also, public safety is a community issue. It shouldn't just be the prosecutor saying, this is how we're going to handle cases. What I want to hear is from the community what you think about public safety in Livingston County. So as prosecutor, my goal would be to partner with local organizations to develop plans, to hear what they have to say, talk to schools, businesses, etc., to get a feel for what the citizens think of public safety in Livingston County, and then enforce it accordingly.
It's interesting you say talk to schools, because I remember my Mr. Valancourt's predecessor, when my daughter was in high school, came and spoke to my daughter's government classes and seniors. So, it's interesting because the kids should have that experience.
Absolutely.
So, Reagan, those are my questions. Can you give us a little wrap-up as to why people should elect you as our prosecuting attorney?
Yes, thank you. Criminal prosecution requires a unique set of skills and talents. Just as you don't want your family physician doing your heart surgery, you don't want someone without any criminal prosecution experience as your county prosecutor. Inexperience can result in overturned convictions, and those can then require victims don't get the closure they need, and that costs taxpayers resources, because then you have to go back and retry that case. I have the experience. I've done this before. I'm the only candidate with that criminal prosecution experience. So on November 3rd, I'm asking you to vote for me.
Okay, thank you.